Let's call off the engagement. You're not good enough for me. In the grand ballroom, Isabel Hawthorne, the recently discovered true heiress, threw the engagement ring in my face in front of everyone. I, Leo Vance, had been transmigrated into this melodramatic romance novel as the pathetic, obsessive side character with the same name, now the target of everyone's mockery and contempt. According to the plot, I was supposed to keep chasing her pathetically, only to end up financially ruined and physically broken by her one true love, the novel's male lead. I touched my stinging cheek and smiled. The hell with the plot. I'm done being a doormat. I'm out. But just as I stepped out of the Hawthorne Estate's main gate, a slender girl cornered me against a wall. She was the fake heiress who had just been kicked out, the one who would become a dangerously obsessive villainess, Clara Reed. She clutched the hem of my jacket, her eyes as red as a rabbit's, her voice trembling. They all abandoned me. The whole world abandoned me. You can't abandon me too, can you? Hold on. This isn't how the story is supposed to go. Why is this ticking time bomb latching onto me ahead of schedule? Leo, let's call off the engagement. You are not good enough for me. Inside the Hawthorne family's glittering ballroom, the star of the evening, the newly returned heiress Isabel Hawthorne, stood under the spotlight. She wore a haute couture gown, looking every bit the proud princess. And I was the piece of trash the princess was about to discard. She pinched a diamond ring between her delicate fingers, and with a flick of her wrist, it cut a cold arc through the air. Smack! It hit my left cheek with precision. It didn't hurt, but the humiliation was scalding. I could feel every eye in the room snap to me. There was pity, ridicule, and most of all, malicious glee. I knew it. How could a loser from the Vance family side branch ever be worthy of our Isabel? Just some poor relative. The engagement only stood because Isabel hadn't been found yet. Now, heck, look at him, he's stunned. Is he actually going to grovel? I wasn't stunned. I was just processing. A minute ago, I was a corporate drone reading a novel in my cramped studio apartment. The next, I'd been dropped into this trashy melodrama, the billionaire's return darling, as the ultimate doormat side character, Leo Vance. In the book, Leo was head over heels for Isabel Hawthorne. After she broke the engagement, he refused to give up, groveling and debasing himself for her. In the end, Isabel's official love interest, the heir to Blackwood Industries, Damian Blackwood, had his legs broken and his body thrown into the river to feed the fish. The good news, I know the entire plot. The bad news, I'd spawned directly into the high-difficulty public humiliation scene. I touched my cheek where the ring had hit me. It was hot. Isabel looked down her nose at me, her tone dripping with undisguised disgust. Take the ring back. From now on, we have nothing to do with each other. The man I, Isabel Hawthorne, marry must be a titan among men, like Damian, not a pathetic failure like you. Beside her, a tall, imposing man with a cold expression wrapped an arm around her waist. Damian Blackwood. He looked at me like I was an ant he could crush at any moment. I took a deep breath. According to the original script, this is where I was supposed to get red-eyed, rush forward demanding to know why she would do this to me, and then get beaten half to death by Damian's bodyguards. But I'm not that idiot, Leo. All right, I said. My voice wasn't loud, but it was clear enough. The murmuring in the ballroom instantly quieted. Isabel and Damian both flinched, clearly not expecting this reaction. I grinned, showing a row of white teeth. Break the engagement? Fine by me. I agree. However, I paused, my eyes sweeping over Isabel's exquisite but cruel face. Ms. Hawthorne, if I may be so bold. What? She scowled. That ring toss was pretty cool. But did you skip dinner or something? You throw like a girl. Didn't hurt at all. Next time, carb up. Try to knock me out in one go. It'll save me the trouble of having to thank you when I wake up. The entire hall went dead silent. Isabel's face visibly morphed from pale white to a furious shade of crimson. What? What did you just say? Damian's expression darkened, and a powerful aura of intimidation washed over me. Leo, watch your mouth. I shrugged, not even bothering to look at him. I bent down, picked up the glittering diamond ring from the floor, and wiped it on a velvet tablecloth. Then, I walked over to the dumbfounded patriarch of the Hawthorne family, Arthur Hawthorne. Mr. Hawthorne, I said, placing the ring on the table in front of him in a relaxed tone. This thing's pretty valuable. You should hold on to it. Back when we got engaged, my family didn't contribute much to the arrangement. It's only natural that Isabel looks down on me now. The engagement is officially void. I wish the Hawthornes and the Blackwoods a long and prosperous union. May you have many beautiful children. With that, I turn on my heel, ready to leave. Someone else can play the doormat. I'm off the clock. Stop. Isabel's sharp voice pierced the air behind me. Leo, do you really think this will get my attention? I've seen this kind of reverse psychology 100 times. I paused, nearly laughing out loud. Reverse psychology? Lady, have you been reading too many billionaire romance novels? Without looking back, I just waved a hand behind me. Don't worry. From now on, if you want to see me, you'll have to get in line and take a number. You. The rest of her furious shouting was cut off as I closed the ballroom's heavy doors behind me. Stepping out of the Hawthorne mansion, the cool night air hit me, and I felt alive again. So satisfying. Even if I was transmigrated as cannon fodder, getting to shut down the main characters face-to-face was totally worth it. Now it was time to run. According to the plot, in 1 month, the fake heiress Clara Reed, who had also been kicked out, would completely snap. 2 years later, she'd return with immense power and wreak havoc on the Hawthorne and Blackwood families. And I would be dead within a month. So I had to leave the city. Immediately. The farther, the better. I walked quickly down a dimly lit path toward a bike share station in the distance. Just as I rounded a corner, a figure slammed into me from the darkness. I instinctively caught her. A faint scent of gardenias filled the air. The girl was thin, so thin her bones dug into me, and she was trembling all over. Sorry. She looked up, revealing a small, palm-sized face. It was pale. Her long eyelashes were beaded with tears, and her large eyes, like those of a startled fawn, were filled with helplessness and fear. It was her, the biggest villain in the entire book, the future queen of ruthless, cold-blooded revenge. And the current, pathetic little thing, Clara Reed. In the book, she was also thrown out of the Hawthorne home today. 16 years of living as a pampered daughter, a dream shattered in an instant. The Hawthorns had tossed a bank card at her and told her to get lost, like shooing away a beggar. I sighed internally. Even knowing how terrifying she would become, seeing her like this, I couldn't help but feel a pang of pity. You okay? I let go of her and took a step back. She seemed to recognize me then, her eyes widening. Is that you? Leo. Her voice was soft and raspy, thick with unshed tears. I nodded. She looked at me, a complex emotion flickering in her eyes, shared misery, and a tiny, almost imperceptible glimmer of light. Were you kicked out too? I wasn't kicked out. I corrected her. I walked out. She bit her lip, and fresh tears spilled down her cheeks. They all abandoned me. Mom and Dad, and my brother. Now that they have Isabel, they don't love me anymore. They call me a thief, said I stole someone else's life. She sobbed, her words catching in her throat, like a kitten abandoned by the entire world. I knew I should offer a few comforting words and then get the hell out of there. The farther away I was from this future villainess, the longer I'd live. Well, you have to look forward, I said lamely. Don't be too sad. When one door closes, another one opens. With that, I prepared to walk around her. But suddenly, she grabbed the hem of my jacket. Her grip was surprisingly strong, her knuckles white from the force. I froze. She lifted her head, those beautiful eyes locking onto mine, filled with a thick, suffocating obsession and madness. They all abandoned me. The whole world abandoned me. She spoke each word slowly, her voice trembling. You can't abandon me too, can you? I stared into her eyes, a cold sweat instantly breaking out on my back. Wait, this isn't right. In the book, after Clara was kicked out, she left alone. It was only after suffering countless humiliations and torments that she completely snapped. She, and the doormat side character, Leo, never crossed paths again after this day. So why? Why was she cornering me here? And saying things that were, frankly, terrifying? Miss Reed, I started, trying to pry her hand off, but it was like an iron clamp. I think you've misunderstood. I haven't misunderstood. She cut me off, her voice suddenly rising. Leo, I know. I've always known. For the past 16 years, in that whole family, you were the only one who was nice to me. You'd sneak me candy when Isabel bullied me. When I failed a test, and Dad yelled at me, you'd lie and say you were the one who took me out to play. And you would. As she spoke, her tears flowed even faster. My mind buzzed. All of that. That was the original Leo, the doormat. But he hadn't done it to be kind to Clara. He did it to suck up to Isabel, hoping to use Clara to get more information about the girl he was obsessed with. And in Clara's eyes, it was all misinterpreted as genuine kindness. What kind of mess was this? Leo, she gripped me tighter, her body pressing against mine. I have nothing now. I only have you. Take me with you, please. Wherever you go, I'll go. I can do anything. I can cook, I can do laundry. I won't be any trouble. She looked up, her tear-streaked face full of pleading and dependence. I admit, Any man seeing this would have his heart soften. But not me, because I knew that inside this pitiful kitten lived a man-eating beast. Once she latched onto me, I'd never be able to escape. I took a deep breath, my voice turning cold and firm. Clara, let go. I won't. I said let go. I stared into her eyes. Don't you understand? I don't know you. I was nice to you before because I felt sorry for you. Now, I don't want to see you again. Get lost. I made my words as cruel as possible. I was sure any girl with a shred of self-respect would break down and storm off after hearing that. But Clara didn't. The color drained from her face, and her body trembled like a leaf in an autumn wind. But her grip on my jacket didn't loosen. She just stared at me, the light in her eyes extinguishing bit by bit, until they became a pool of dead, empty darkness. Then she smiled, a smile that was uglier than tears. It doesn't matter, she said softly, as if in a trance. It doesn't matter if you hate me. It doesn't matter if you curse me. As long as you let me follow you, that's enough. Her voice held a strange, obsessive quality that made my skin crawl. Leo, you can't get rid of me. Never. Too, my skin was crawling. This wasn't a kitten. It was a demon in a cat's skin. Looking into her stubborn, crazed eyes, I knew that no words would ever convince her. Clara, you don't have to do this. I made one last attempt. You're a good person. You deserve better, not tagging along with a loser like me. I laughed at my own expense. Loser? It was as if she'd heard the world's biggest joke, but also as if she'd been stabbed. You're not a loser, she retorted passionately. Leo, you're better than all of them. You just don't want to compete with them. Well, I'll be damned. She managed to reinterpret my pathetic simping as a noble detachment from worldly affairs. The rose-colored glasses she was wearing must be a foot thick. I gave up on reasoning with her. I reached out, intending to forcefully pry her hand off. The moment my fingertips touched the back of her hand, I felt how cold it was. She was dressed so lightly, and in the late autumn night, her body was like a block of ice. I hesitated. Drip, drip, splash. Just then, as if on cue, the heavens opened up and it started to rain. Cold raindrops pelted down, soaking us in an instant. The rain made Clara shiver even more violently, but her grip on me didn't loosen one bit. She just stood there in the downpour, head tilted up, looking at me as if I were her last piece of driftwood in a raging sea. The words "get lost" died in my throat. Damn it, did I owe her something from a past life? You win, I sighed resigned. I took off my suit jacket and draped it over her thin shoulders. Come with me, I said, my face a coal mask. She froze, as if she couldn't process what I'd said. Just for one night, I added, my tone leaving no room for argument. At dawn tomorrow, you have to disappear from my sight. A brilliant light instantly erupted in her eyes. She nodded vigorously. Okay. I hailed a cab. When I gave the address, the driver gave us a strange look. A guy in a dress shirt and a girl in an evening gown, heading to the city's most dilapidated old district. Clara didn't seem to care. The moment she got in the car, she pressed herself close to me, one hand still gripping my shirt as if she was afraid I'd throw her out. The car rattled along the bumpy road. The place I lived was a bachelor pad arranged by the Vance family for its less important members. To put it bluntly, it was an old, rundown dump. The building's hallway light flickered, the walls were plastered with flyers, and the air was thick with a mixed smell of dampness and cooking grease. I opened the door. The room was tiny. You could see everything in one glance. The living room and bedroom were one and the same. A bed, a desk, a sofa. That was it. A few empty ramen cups were piled in a corner. You live here. Clara stood at the doorway, a hint of surprise in her voice. I thought she'd be disgusted. After all, this place was a world away from the Hawthorne mansion she'd lived in for 16 years. What? Not up to the princess's standards. I said sarcastically. If you can't handle it, the door's right there. You can leave now. But she shook her head and stepped inside cautiously. No, she said softly. It smells like you here. It feels safe. My mouth twitched. The smell of ramen felt safe? Her gaze swept around the room, finally landing on my small, full-sized bed. Go take a shower so you don't catch a cold, I said, pulling a clean t-shirt and a pair of gym shorts from the closet and tossing them to her. I don't have any women's clothes. You'll have to make do. Thank you, Leo. She clutched the clothes, her head bowed, and walked into the bathroom like a docile kitten. Listening to the sound of the shower, I ran a hand through my hair in frustration. I had well and truly let the wolf in the door. I made her a bowl of ramen, adding an egg. She came out of the bathroom just as I was putting it on the table. She was wearing my t-shirt. The large garment hung loosely on her, the hem reaching her mid-thighs, leaving a pair of long, pale, and perfectly straight legs exposed. Her damp hair was still dripping, and her small face was flushed a faint pink from the steam. She looked kind of tempting. I quickly averted my gaze. Look away, look away. Hurry up and eat. Then get some sleep. She nodded obediently, sat at the table, and began eating the ramen in small bites. I watched her, my mind racing, trying to figure out how to get rid of this deity tomorrow. Give her some money? No, from the looks of it, she'd probably just throw the money away and keep following me. Call the cops? Even worse. They'd just think it was a lover's quarrel. What if I run? Yes, I'll run. I'll buy a train ticket first thing in the morning and go somewhere she can't find me. As I was scheming, she had already finished the ramen, drinking even the last drop of broth. Leo, I'm done. Okay, just leave the bowl there. I pointed to the sofa. You sleep on the bed tonight. I'll take the couch. She didn't move. She just stood there, looking at me. Her watery eyes seemed especially bright under the light. What is it? I asked. She bit her lip, looking a little nervous and a little expectant. She stretched out a delicate finger and pointed at the small single bed. Then, in a voice that was almost a whisper, she asked softly, this afternoon, didn't you tell me to get lost? I froze. Now, she lifted her eyes, looking at me cautiously. Can I get lost in your bed? 3. I nearly choked on my own saliva. This woman, was she a demon? Saying the most seductive things with the most innocent expression. I looked at her pure face, now tinged with a hint of slyness, and my throat went dry. Go. 2. Sleep. I squeezed the words through my teeth, then turned away in a panic, not daring to look at her again. I heard a very faint laugh from behind me. While I looked back again, she was already tucked obediently in bed, wrapped up in the blanket like a cocoon, with only a pair of sparkling eyes showing. Good night, Leo. I ignored her, dragged a spare blanket out of the closet, and lay down on the couch. That night, my sleep was anything but peaceful. I dreamed I was being coiled by a giant white python, its grip getting tighter and tighter, until I could barely breathe. The next day, I was woken by the aroma of food. I opened my eyes to see Clara, wearing my checkered apron, busy in the tiny kitchen. 2 bowls of steaming hot porridge and a plate of golden fried eggs were already on the table. I looked around and was shocked to find that my pigsty of an apartment had become spotless overnight. The floor was mopped so clean it shone, the messy pile of clothes was neatly folded, and even the cactus on the windowsill had been dusted. I was momentarily at a loss for words. Leo, you're awake? Clara turned around and gave me a sweet smile. Come and eat. I made your favorite seafood congee. I was even more stunned. How did you know I like seafood congee? I guessed, she said, blinking innocently. Like hell she did. But I didn't have time to dwell on that. My mind was consumed with my grand escape plan. I absent-mindedly ate the porridge while secretly looking up train tickets on my phone. Found one. 3 o'clock this afternoon to Rockport in the next state. A 5-hour ride. It would be dark by the time I got there, perfect for checking into a cheap motel. Rockport was a small city. She'd never find me there. I quickly booked the ticket, paid, all in one smooth motion. Done. After finishing the porridge, I felt much better. I had to admit, Clara was a damn good cook. I'm full, I said, putting down the bowl. I have something to do at work today. I need to go out for a bit. I'll go with you. She immediately stood up. No need. I refused flatly. You just stay here. Don't go anywhere. Wait for me to get back tonight. By the time I get back, I'll be long gone. She looked a little disappointed, but still nodded obediently. Okay, I'll wait for you. I put on my jacket and walked to the door. Leo, she suddenly called out. Yeah. Be careful on your way. She stood in the morning light, waving at me like a young wife sending her husband off to work. For a split second, I was dazed, but soon my survival instinct took over. I left the apartment without looking back. To avoid arousing suspicion, I first took a bus downtown, wandered around a mall for a while to make sure no one was following me, and then went straight to the train station. At 2:30, I picked up my ticket and sat in the waiting hall. Looking at the ticket in my hand, I let out a long sigh of relief. Freedom. Goodbye, Isabel Hawthorne. Goodbye, Damian Blackwood. And goodbye to you, Clara, you little demon. You can all live out your drama in this novel. This guy is logging off. The boarding announcement started playing over the speakers. I stood up, grabbed my backpack, and joined the queue. Everything went smoothly. I found my seat, stowed my bag, and leaned against the window. The train began to move slowly. Watching the scenery fly by outside, I felt a wave of relief wash over me. However, I had celebrated too soon. My phone suddenly rang. It was an unknown number. I hesitated for a moment, then answered. Hello. On the other end came Clara's voice, a voice so familiar it made my skin crawl. Leo, why are you running? Her voice was light and soft, but it carried an icy chill. My heart dropped. How did you? I made you soup. I'm waiting for you to come home and drink it, she said, ignoring my question. If you come back now, you can still make it. Clara, what the hell do you want? I hissed, lowering my voice. I don't want anything, she chuckled lightly. I just wanted to remind you your ID. You seem to have left it here with me. My mind went blank, as if a bomb had gone off. I frantically patted my pockets. Empty. My ID was gone from my wallet. And your phone. She continued in that sickly, sweet voice. It's about to die. Oh, and that hotel you booked? I canceled it for you. Leo, it's not safe out there. Be a good boy. Come home. If you don't come back. She paused, her voice suddenly turning sinister. I'll tell Damian Blackwood that you're still alive. The blood in my veins turned to ice. Damian Blackwood. That ruthless, cruel male lead who saw me as a thorn in his side. If he found out that not only had I not given up, but I'd also run off with Clara, I didn't dare to imagine the consequences. This woman wasn't just obsessive. She was a lunatic. I hung up the phone. The next second, the screen went black. Dead. The train continued to speed forward, carrying me towards an unknown, but certainly not free, future. And me? A ghost, with no ID, no phone, and no money. Where could I possibly run to? I slumped into my seat, feeling true despair for the first time. Just then, in the seat next to me, a girl who had been wearing a hat and mask, head down playing on her phone, suddenly looked up. She took off her mask, revealing a face that was terrifyingly familiar, pale and possessive. She smiled at me. Leo, I told you, you can't get rid of me. She pulled my ID out of her pocket and dangled it in front of my eyes. Now we're in the same boat. I stared at her, a ridiculous and horrifying thought bubbling up from the depths of my mind. She had planned everything, from cornering me outside the Hawthorne estate, to playing weak to get me to take her home, to stealing my ID to ensure I had no escape. It was all part of her plan. But why would she do all this? How could she know so much? She even knew that Damian would try to have me killed. Unless... Who are you? I stared at her, my voice hoarse. The smile on Clara's face slowly faded. She looked out the window, her gaze becoming distant and sorrowful, as if piercing through time itself. After a long moment, she spoke softly. In my last life, 32 days after your engagement was broken, I watched with my own eyes as Damian Blackwood's men ran you down and killed you in a dark alley with no security cameras. My brain was a complete blank. Reborn. What did she say? Last life. I looked at Clara's profile, etched with grief, and my heart began to pound uncontrollably. This was beyond being transmigrated into a book. What kind of insane plot twist was this? What are you talking about? I forced myself to stay calm, trying to find any sign of a lie on her face. There was none. Her eyes held nothing but an ocean of pain and regret. I'm not lying. She turned her head, looking at me, enunciating each word. Leo, I came back with the memories of my past life. Last time, after I was kicked out of the Hawthorne house, I lived like a stray dog, enduring every kind of humiliation and torment. By the time I finally had the power to come back for revenge, you were already dead. The Hawthorns and the Blackwoods worked together to cover up your death. They told everyone you'd gone abroad to study. I looked for you for so long. In the end, I found your cold body in a slum that was about to be demolished. Her voice trembled, and tears fell like broken pearls from her eyes. The sheer volume of information in her words left me speechless. If what she was saying was true, then everything made sense. Why she knew my preferences. Why she knew Damian wanted me dead. Why she was so obsessively attached to me, even using extreme measures to keep me by her side. Because she had already experienced the pain of losing me once. So this time, she was going to hold on to me tightly to prevent any possibility of me disappearing from her life again. The train car was quiet, save for the rhythmic clatter of the wheels on the tracks. I looked at the girl, crying like a child before me, a storm of emotions raging inside me. Fear, shock, and a strange, indescribable feeling of being moved. So I managed to say, in your past life after I died, what did you do? She looked up, wiping away her tears with the back of her hand. Her eyes instantly turned icy and fierce, filled with a hatred that didn't belong to someone her age. What did I do? She sneered, a smile full of madness and destructive finality. I destroyed Isabel Hawthorne's reputation until she went insane in a mental asylum. I bankrupted Damian Blackwood's company, made him taste the bitterness of being betrayed by everyone he trusted, and then he died in front of the tombstone I built for you. I sent every single person who ever bullied you, who ever laughed at you, straight to hell. All of Sterling City ran red with blood because of me. She said it so casually, but every word sent a chill down my spine. I had no doubt she was telling the truth. This was exactly what the ultimate dark villain of the book would do. And what about you? The question slipped out before I could stop it. She froze. The madness and hatred in her eyes slowly receded, leaving behind only a boundless emptiness and sorrow. Me? She gave a wretched smile. The day I got my revenge, I went to your grave and joined you. My heart felt like it was being squeezed by an invisible hand, a dull, aching pain. This foolish girl. I opened my mouth, wanting to say something, but my throat felt like it was stuffed with cotton. Leo, she suddenly grabbed my hand, her cold fingertips trembling slightly. This time, I'll never let you leave me again. I won't let anyone hurt you. The Hawthorns, the Blackwoods. I'll make them pay back what they owe you 1,000 times over. You don't have to do anything. You just have to stay by my side and watch me. She looked at me, her gaze possessive and feverish. I will pave every road for you. I will build a kingdom, just for us. Looking at her, I suddenly understood. This was never about a side character or a doormat's redemption. From the very beginning, I had it all wrong. The true protagonists of this book were never Isabel and Damien. It was the girl in front of me, the one who would burn down the world for my sake. Clara Reed. For the first time, I said her full name with a sense of gravity. I squeezed her cold hand and pulled her into my arms. Her body stiffened for a moment, then slowly relaxed. She buried her face in my chest, and like a child who had finally found a safe harbor, she began to sob uncontrollably. I gently patted her back. Let out. It's okay to cry. I'm here now. I can't repay the debts of the past life. But in this life, I will protect you. The train arrived at the station. I took Clara's hand, and we walked out of the Rockport station. But we didn't stay. Using the cash she had prepared in advance, I bought tickets back to Sterling City. You're not running anymore? She asked, her eyes still red. I'm not running. I looked at her seriously. If I run, what happens to you? Let you face those wolves and tigers alone again? Let you walk that lonely, destructive path of revenge by yourself? I couldn't do it. Clara, I said, if we're going to play, let's play for keeps. The Hawthorns, the Blackwoods. They love their little protagonist game, don't they? Then let's flip their whole damn board. Let's show them who the real winner is. She looked at me, and a light reignited in her eyes. It was the light of hope. Back at that shabby little apartment, the first thing I did was pull Clara to the desk. Write down everything you know, everything about the future, especially about business, finance, tech development. The more detailed, the better. Though confused, she did as I asked. Watching her write down the names of industries that were years away from booming, the names of companies on the verge of skyrocketing, a crazy smirk slowly spread across my face. Damien Blackwood, you're the crown prince of Sterling City, aren't you? A business prodigy? Soon, I'm going to teach you the meaning of a paradigm shift. 5. For the next week, Clara and I barely left the apartment. I turned her memories into an exhaustively detailed future business blueprint, from which stocks would hit their limit day after day, to which sectors would see explosive growth. I knew this was our only real asset. Our startup capital came from the bank card Arthur Hawthorne had thrown at her when he kicked her out. A cool $1 million. The Hawthorns probably thought $1 million was enough to get rid of the daughter they'd raised for 16 years, enough to make her disappear quietly. They were wrong. This $1 million would become the first lever to topple their corporate empire. Leo, what's our first step? Clara asked, propping her chin on her hands and looking at me like a curious student. These past few days, she had fully recovered, color returning to her cheeks, her eyes filled with trust and dependence. I pointed to a name on the blueprint. Bitcoin. What's that? She asked, bewildered. 6. Seeing Clara's cute, confused face, I couldn't help but smile. It's magic that makes money grow on its own. Of course, I knew what Bitcoin was. In my original world, the thing with a modern-day gold rush. And in this novel's world, right now, its price was languishing at an all-time low, a few cents per coin. No one knew that in just a few short years, it would skyrocket to an astronomical price of tens of thousands of dollars. Except for me, the prophet, and Clara, the regressor. We're putting all our money in, I said, my voice firm. Clara didn't hesitate for a second. Okay. She didn't even ask why. She just opened her laptop and found a nascent, incredibly basic online trading platform. That was trust. She gave me her memories of the past, and I would give her the future of this life. $1 million. All in. The moment the transaction completed, I could almost hear the sound of the snowball of cash rolling downhill. Next, we just had to wait. We didn't stay idle while we waited. I had her use her future knowledge to register dozens of shell companies in various fields like internet tech, new energy, and biotech. Then I started coding. Yes, coding. Before I was transmigrated, though I was a corporate drone, I was also an Ivy League graduate with a major in computer science. I might not have been a top-tier hacker, but I was more than capable of dealing with the budding internet companies in this world. In 3 days, I wrote a small web crawler program. Its function was simple: to infiltrate the internal networks of Sterling City's major corporations and gather some interesting information. For example, Damian Blackwood's Blackwood Industries was secretly developing a new social media app, codenamed Project Chimera. This project was Damian's ambitious attempt to challenge the dominance of the existing tech giants. It was also the cornerstone of his business legend in the book, the tool he used to crush countless competitors. And now, the entire project plan, detailed down to every API and feature module, was sitting quietly on my computer. "Leo, you're amazing," Clara said, her eyes sparkling like stars as she watched the lines of code scroll down my screen. "Basic stuff," I said with a nonchalant shrug, though inside I was ecstatic. What man doesn't love being worshipped by a beautiful girl? Time flew by. A month later, the price of Bitcoin shot up like a rocket, soaring from a few cents to over $100. An increase of nearly 200-fold. "Sell half," I ordered. Clara's fingers danced across the keyboard. In moments, a huge sum of money appeared in our account. Nearly $100 million. Staring at the long string of zeros, Clara's mouth formed a perfect. She had lived 2 lifetimes and had never seen so much money. "Are we?" she stammered. "Are we rich now?" "No." I shook my finger, my gaze burning as I looked at her. "This isn't just money. This is ammunition for our revenge. And now, the bullets are loaded." The first thing I did with the money was rent an entire floor of the Apex Tower, the most prestigious office building downtown. Then, under the name of one of the shell companies, I started a massive hiring spree. The salaries I offered were double the industry's top pay. Suddenly, the entire tech scene in Sterling City was buzzing about this mysterious new company, Singularity Tech. Resumes flew in like snowflakes. I interviewed the candidates myself. I didn't want mediocrity. I wanted the geniuses who would shine in the future, but were currently unrecognized. Like the man sitting in front of me now, Kevin Shaw, a programmer who had been fired for talking back to his boss and was now down on his luck. In the previous timeline, in 3 years he would develop a short video app called VibeClip that would take the nation by storm. And in this timeline, $300,000 a year, plus stock options, I said, pushing a contract across the table to him. "Just one condition. I want to see VibeClip launched within a year." Kevin stared at the contract, his hands trembling with excitement. "Mr. Vance, I won't let you down." I helped him up and clapped him on the shoulder. "Work hard. I believe in you." One by one, future industry titans were recruited to my side. My Singularity Tech was like a giant magnet, attracting all the hidden gems. And all this time, Damien and the Hawthorns were completely oblivious. They were still engrossed in their own world. Damien was busy with his project Chimera, preparing to surprise the world. Isabel was enjoying her status as the true heiress, spending her days in luxury boutiques and high society parties. Occasionally, they would remember me, the clown. "That Leo guy hasn't been bothering you lately, has he?" Damien asked casually, his arm around Isabel. "Nope," Isabel said with a disdainful sniff. "He probably realized the gap between us and is hiding in a corner, crying somewhere. Just a loser, not even worth mentioning." They would never have imagined. The loser in their eyes was, at that very moment, standing before the floor-to-ceiling windows of the Apex Tower, looking down at the city's nightscape. And standing by his side was the girl who was supposed to be crushed under their feet, the one who was supposed to die a miserable death. "Leo," Clara hugged me gently from behind, resting her cheek against my back. "I feel like I'm in a dream." "This isn't a dream." I turned and pinched her cheek gently. "This is just the beginning." I pointed to the tallest, most prominent building outside the window. The Blackwood Industries Tower. Damien's Kingdom. "See that building?" Soon a cold smile played on my lips. "It's going to have a new owner, 7. Singularity Tech grew faster than anyone could have imagined. We burst on a Sterling City's tech scene like an untamed dark horse. Within a month, we launched 3 products in quick succession. The first was a food delivery app, QuickBite. In this world, people were still used to calling restaurants to order. The moment our app launched, with its user-friendly interface and vast selection of restaurants, it took the market by storm. The second was a ride-sharing platform, Portal, another case of total market disruption. While taxis were still cruising the streets for fares, We used subsidies to quickly build a loyal user base. The third was a short video app led by Kevin Shaw, VibeClip. With its precise recommendation algorithm and addictively catchy background music, VibeClip spread like a virus, quickly taking over everyone's phone screens. 3 products, each a game changer. The entire venture capital circle in Sterling City went into a frenzy. Everyone wanted to know who the mysterious boss behind Singularity Tech was. But I remained behind the scenes, having a professional manager handle all public affairs. The time wasn't right. I was waiting for an opportunity, a chance to deliver a fatal blow to Damien. That opportunity came soon enough. Damien's Project Chimera was finally ready to launch. To build hype, Blackwood Industries launched a massive advertising campaign, hiring the hottest celebrities for endorsements. The publicity was enormous. Damien even held a press conference himself. He stood on stage, beaming with confidence. Chimera will redefine social networking. It features the most advanced instant messaging technology, the coolest dynamic social feed, and he was in the middle of his grand speech when a massive screen behind him suddenly went black. Everyone froze. A second later, the screen lit up again. But what appeared wasn't the promotional video for Chimera, but a bright red countdown. 10, 9, 8. The reporters in the audience began to murmur amongst themselves. Damien's face instantly darkened. What's going on? Tech support. Get back there now, he hissed into his earpiece. But it was too late. The countdown hit 0. A line of bold text appeared on the screen. The first social metaverse for a new generation, Elysium. Open beta starts today. Immediately following was a promotional video, so stunningly cool it looked like it was from the future. Customizable virtual avatars, immersive social environments, VR interaction. Every feature seemed to have been pulled straight from a science fiction movie. It completely overshadowed the text and image-based chimera that Damien had just been boasting about. At the end of the video, the image froze. A mysterious logo appeared, Singularity Tech. The entire room erupted. Singularity Tech? Isn't that the new company that's been making waves? My God, they're working on a metaverse. This technology is insane. Compared to this, Chimera looks like something from the last century. Damien stood on stage, his face pale, his body trembling. He stared at the Elysium promo, his eyes filled with disbelief. Because many of the core concepts and technical ideas in Elysium were identical to the top secret plans for his unannounced next-generation product, Chimera 2. 0-inch. In fact, it was even more polished, more advanced than his own vision. Impossible. Only he and the most core members of his project team knew about that plan. Who was it? Who the hell stole his future? The press conference was a complete disaster. The sudden emergence of Elysium turned Damien's Chimera into a colossal joke. Before the event even ended, Blackwood Industries' stock began to plummet. And this was just the beginning. That night, Damien locked himself in his office, furiously smashing everything in sight. Find them. I want you to find them. I don't care what it takes. Find me the owner of this Singularity Tech, he roared. His assistant timidly handed him a file. Mr. Blackwood, we found something. The legal representative of Singularity Tech is someone named Clara Reed. Clara Reed. Damien froze. The name was vaguely familiar. He remembered. The fake heiress kicked out by the Hawthorns. A girl he'd always seen as trash, someone he never gave a second glance. How could she possibly? She's not the real boss. The assistant's voice trembled. There's someone else behind her. According to our hacker's trace, all instructions came from a single IP address. The address is... Spit out. The assistant dropped to his knees with a thud. It's the old, rundown apartment that Leo Vance used to live in. Damien's body went rigid. Leo Vance? That pathetic simp he considered a waste of space. The clown publicly humiliated and dumped by Isabel. How could it? Ping. Damien's phone chimed. It was a text from an unknown number. The message was simple, just a photo and a single sentence. The photo showed me with my arm around Clara's shoulders, standing before the floor-to-ceiling windows of the Apex Tower, the glittering skyline of Sterling City behind us. We were both smiling brightly. The sentence read, "Enjoying my leftovers, Damien?" Damien's eyes instantly turned bloodshot. He hurled his phone against the wall with all his might, the screen shattering into a spiderweb of cracks. Leo Vance? A beast-like roar echoed through the entire Blackwood Industries tower. He had lost, utterly and completely defeated, beaten by a loser he had never taken seriously, someone he thought he could crush with a single finger. His prized business empire was like a child's sandcastle before this opponent, collapsing with a single touch. What made it even worse was that Clara Reed, the girl who had brought him this public shame, was working for Leo. Humiliation. An unprecedented level of humiliation. The next day, as expected, Blackwood Industries' stock hit its limit down. Rumors of a core technology leak and corporate espionage spread like wildfire through the market. The board of directors called an emergency meeting, and shareholders swarmed Damien with pressure. He was in over his head. Meanwhile, I was in my new office, leisurely sipping coffee. Clara was curled up on my lap like an obedient kitten, reading me the latest financial news from a tablet. Following the impact of the Elysium app, the market value of Blackwood Industries has evaporated by $10 billion overnight. Industry analysts predict that if the situation cannot be salvaged, Blackwood Industries may face its greatest crisis since its founding. She finished reading and looked up at me, her eyes sparkling with adoration. "Leo, we did it." "Not yet," I said, putting down my coffee cup and playfully tapping her nose. "This is just the appetizer. The main course hasn't been served." My fingers tapped rhythmically on the desk. Taking down Damien was just the first step. My ultimate goal was the entire Hawthorne family. The ones who, in the previous life, had driven Clara to her breaking point. Ding dong. The doorbell chimed. "Come in." The office door opened, and my assistant led a woman inside. An unexpected visitor. Isabel Hawthorne. She looked much more haggard. Her once proud face was now etched with anxiety and panic. When she saw me, and especially when she saw Clara sitting intimately on my lap, her pupils contracted sharply. "Leo, Clara, it's really you." She still couldn't believe that the two people she had once trampled underfoot had transformed into major players who could sway the business world of Sterling City. I said nothing, merely watched her with a cool gaze. Clara slid off my lap and stood beside me, naturally linking her arm with mine, and gave Isabel a faintly provocative smile. "Miss Hawthorne, long time no see." Isabel's face turned even paler. She took a deep breath, as if mustering all her courage. "Leo," she looked at me, her voice much softer. "I know I was wrong before. I shouldn't have broken our engagement in public and humiliated you. But it was all a misunderstanding. The truth is in my heart. I've always had feelings for you." Oh, I almost laughed out loud. So, she sees Damien is sinking and wants to come back to her backup plan? Too bad. This doormat has woken up, and he's not interested in scraps. "Miss Hawthorne." I leaned back in my chair, lacing my fingers together, my tone icy. "Is this all you came here to say today? If so, you can leave. I don't have time for your nonsense." Isabel's face flushed red and white. She bit her lip, took an invitation out of her purse, and placed it on my desk. "Next week is my father's 50th birthday party," she said. "I hope you can come." She paused, a note of pleading in her voice. "Damien is in trouble, and the Hawthorne family. We need a new ally. Leo, I know you're angry with us, but after all, we what?" I cut her off, my eyes full of mockery. "After all, you treated me like a clown for years, and treated my fiancé as a substitute for 16. Isabel, do you really think the whole world revolves around you?" She was rendered speechless. "I'll take the invitation," I said, picking it up without a second glance. "I'll be there." Isabel's eyes lit up, thinking there was hope. But my next words plunged her into an icy abyss. "I will be attending with my fiancée, Miss Clara Reed," I said, pulling Clara in front of me and planting a soft kiss on her forehead right in front of Isabel. "We will go together to wish your father a happy birthday." And while we're there, I looked at Isabel's instantly bloodless face and said, word by word, "We can discuss the matter of acquiring Hawthorne Industries." Isabel staggered back 2 steps as if struck by lightning. She stared at Clara and me, her eyes filled with jealousy, hatred, and a flicker of fear. She finally understood. I wasn't joking. I was really going to destroy her family. You too." She pointed at us, her lips trembling, unable to form a complete sentence. "Get out," I said, just one word. Tears streamed down Isabel's face in an instant. This once untouchable heiress was, for the very first time, tasting despair. She ran out of my office, sobbing. The office returned to silence. Clara turned to me, her eyes glistening with tears. "Leo, did you just say fiancé?" I looked at her and smiled. From my desk drawer, I took out a velvet box I had prepared long ago. I knelt on one knee and opened it in front of her. Inside was a dazzling diamond ring, at least 10 times larger than the one Isabel had thrown in my face. "In our last life, I couldn't protect you. In this life, let me be the one to guard you." I looked up at her, my gaze tender and resolute. Miss Clara Reed, will you marry me? 9 Clara couldn't hold back her tears any longer. She covered her mouth, and teardrops slipped through her fingers, falling one by one onto the cold floor. She didn't answer me right away. She just looked at me, at the ring in my hand, and cried like a lost child who had finally found her way home. I knew she was letting it all out, releasing the 2 lifetimes of pain, grief, and anxiety that had been bottled up for so long. I waited patiently. After a long while, she finally nodded, her voice choked with sobs. I will. I smiled, took her cool hand, and gently slipped the ring, a symbol of my lifelong promise, onto her finger. It was a perfect fit, as if it was always meant to be there. She threw herself into my arms, holding on so tightly it was as if she wanted to merge into my very being. Leo, am I dreaming? Silly, I said, holding her close. Pinch me and see if it hurts. She actually pinched my side. I let out a hiss of pain. She burst into laughter through her tears. I laughed too. The sunlight streaming through the window was warm and bright. Everything was perfect at the Hawthorne estate. Isabel returned home, utterly devastated, and told Arthur Hawthorne what had happened at Singularity Tech. After hearing her story, the teacup in Arthur's hand crashed to the floor. What? He wants to acquire us. Dad, Isabel cried. He's not kidding. He's with that bitch Clara Reed now. And they're coming for us. Clara Reed. Arthur repeated the name, his face turning grim. He never imagined that the adopted daughter he had so casually discarded would reappear in his life in such a manner. And she had brought with her a Leo Vance he couldn't afford to offend. Did he really say that? He did. Arthur paced back and forth in the living room, beads of cold sweat forming on his forehead. While Hawthorne Industries was a major player in Sterling City, it was several tiers below Blackwood Industries. If Leo could push Damien to the brink, dealing with the Hawthorns would be child's play. No, absolutely not. Hawthorne Industries was his life's work. He couldn't let it be destroyed. Isabel, Arthur suddenly stopped, his eyes hardening with determination. Go back to Singularity Tech. Go back. Isabel was confused. Go, Arthur said through clenched teeth. Go and tell Leo Vance that as long as he's willing to spare the Hawthorne family, he can name his price. The old engagement can be reinstated. I'll even give him 30% of my shares as a dowry. Isabel was stunned. 30% of the shares? That was nearly half of the family's fortune. Dad, are you crazy? I'm not crazy, Arthur roared. Compared to losing the entire company, we're a few shares. As long as we can save the company, as long as we can tie him to our side again, it's all worth it. Now go. Isabel looked at her father's almost manic expression, a chill running through her. She knew, then, that the Hawthorne family was truly afraid. A week later, Arthur Hawthorne's 50th birthday party was held at Sterling City's most luxurious 7-star hotel. The ballroom was filled with high society elites, but on everyone's face was a subtle,